once again, I'm Doc Rodden, and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action, from Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to Fast and the Furious. We will look and review at theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. That's right. Tonight, we're reviewing The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 4, The Siege. That is Chapter 12. It just takes a long time to talk about just the title. Just wait till we get into the episode itself. That's what we're going to do tonight. But let me introduce the rest of the crew, starting off with the one and only Chris Slattery, known as the Slat Man. How you doing, sir?
Good. Got my bobblehead baby Yoda right here with me,
yes,
ready to talk about this.
Yeah, there's baby Yodas everywhere in this podcast. If you can see them all, take a drink. All right. Also joining us is podcasting Rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. Oh, Yoda's going Francais.
Yes, we're ready for our Parisian trip together. We're going to gram it for sure.
Oh, yeah?
I have an important confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I watched the original holiday special.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Oh, no.
What?
Did you have a good time with that?
What? No, I didn't. I absolutely did not, because that made no sense at all.
Made no sense.
But at least I've seen it.
Welcome to 1978 or 79, whenever it happened.
Welcome to drugs.
Yes.
For real.
Oh, my gosh. All right. That voice you hear is award-winning filmmaker Christopher Chi Moore. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, but you got your baby Yodas, but I got my Walrus Man and my Honda Baba, which we get to see several of these species in the this recent episode of Mandalorian. So
yeah, right in the beginning of it, right?
Yep. And I was geeking out.
Were you?
Yeah, I was like baby Yoda. Yay!
Yeah, that's. Oh yes. Well, speaking of that, let's take a look at the card, because there he is. Yay! All right. Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 4, the Chapter 12, The Siege. Of course, it aired November 20th on December. What the hell am I saying? Disney Plus. November 20th on Disney Plus. Too many months in my head. All right. Directed by Carl Weathers. Pictured to the right. Written by Jon Favreau. The cast include Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano. I'm just making names up. Carl Weathers, Horatio Sanz, Omid Abtahi, and Giancarlo Esposito. And the Mandalorian rejoins all allies for a new mission. And Baby Yoda goes on a roller coaster ride. Yes, that's what everybody does. Yay! Might have been one of the cutest scenes ever committed to television. If it weren't for other.
This was a cuteness montage of cuteness from that little baby Yoda. I mean, every scene he was in, he was stealing the scene with his cuteness and all of his.
Yep. If he wasn't stealing macaroons, he was stealing scenes.
Or electrocuting himself.
He was.
Oh my god! Yeah,
he coughed out smoke like a Warner Brothers cartoon. That's hilarious.
Well, I think the funny thing is just that Mando, he doesn't even flinch. He's like, "Are you okay?" He just expects him to be okay. And I was like, "He's a little baby. I mean, 50-year-old baby, but still, surely you can't. He could have died from that."
Yeah. Then he's like, "It's worth a try."
Oh man! All right, what we're going to do is we're going to give our first impressions. Then we're going to talk about the episode. And then we're going to wrap things up with our favorite, our final thoughts, our favorite scene, and our score 1 to 5. So let's jump into it. Slatman, you're up first. What is your first impression of The Siege?
Assuming I don't sound like a robot when I talk, I thought it was excellent. I thought it had some of the coolest set designs that we've seen in this show so far, and it has probably one of the coolest vehicle chase scenes I've seen in Star Wars.
Yes, I liked it quite a bit.
And I don't know if I can talk about any more without going into spoilers. So,
well, we'll wait. All right, Vanessa, you're up next. What is your first impression of The Siege?
We loved it. No, I mean, this is a Baby Yoda fan service episode, right? For
Yes.
everything else that it's very, you know what, in thinking about that right now, you can draw a hard line between the cuteness they pull you into here with Baby Yoda and everything else that's going on, kind of foreground, but you could almost say background at sometimes. And I'm looking forward to talking about Moff Gideon later.
Yes, there's some spoilers to discuss in this episode for certain. Reveals, hints, teases, craziness. All right, Christopher G. Moore, what was your first impression of the siege?
It was a blast. I'll have to agree with. I was telling some people actually today when I went into my workplace. We were talking about like the action of this series, I think, really stands out and almost improves in a lot of the stuff we've seen, especially in the newer films or the prequels.
Nice.
And I would say that the chase scene, which escalates in all kinds of awesomeness, is pretty amazing. And then just some like Vanessa was talking about the production design. I do have one issue with it that I think irritated me immensely. There's a scene where they keep cutting behind Mando and the different people running through the different hallways, and it keeps doing this side transition thing like you normally see in Star Wars, and it's the same hallway. So it's like one of the worst edited things I've seen in all of the first and second season, which to me does not make it a perfect episode because of that. It's bad editing. It's almost like, they have all this technology to make different backgrounds, but they have this one scene, which is like, you usually don't do a transition between similar scenes, because then it just looks like bad editing. Like you didn't have anything you didn't have any extra footage or something. But that's the only thing that really irritated me just as a filmmaker, but it made up for it with the whole way it ended with the amazing chase scene that ended on all kinds of cuteness as well. So yeah, fun episode. I mean, you got, what's her name? Like beating up walrus men,
At the beginning, she got to put her wrestling moves down.
Yeah, you get to see some of the MMA type stuff going on. And then just also the world building, and there's a lot of things that sort of tie into other parts of the Star Wars universe.
Yes, they do.
So yeah. I think it's another great episode, except for just a few editing hiccups in one part that irritated me to no end.
Yeah, there might be another editing hiccup that we're going to talk about later in the show too. Probably just kind of exposes that maybe they were rushed editing this, maybe, because you guys probably know what I'm talking about when we get there. Oh my!
That was my impersonation of him.
Yes, you did. Suddenly,
there you go. I'm going to be cosplaying that soon.
Yes.
I'll just put a wall
in
front of half of me.
Yes. Suddenly Star Wars has a lot more in common with Games of Thrones. Yeah, the action figure. All right. I'm not going to say anything different than you guys. This was a hugely fun episode. It was basically, I mean, it's another one of those serialized adventures. It's just, he lands back on Nevarro to get his ship fixed, and of course meets up with some our old friends, and they go on an adventure. It's kind of what this season's been doing. It just proves how much that formula works, because this was a lot of fun. It had, as long as they keep progressing the story, we inch a little closer, we find out a little more everywhere he goes, and that's always a lot of fun. And of course, this has, like you said, has some of the best action sequences in that respect. And the first season had a lot of that too, right? Because we were really geeking out at some of the the battle scenes. Most of those were blaster battles. This one seems to up the game a little bit more with grander scale.
Mhm.
And and congratulations to Carl Weathers for directing a wonderful episode. So yeah, let's dive into it. And I guess we should just go ahead, and we already kind of talked about T-shirt and jeans guy. So what happened there, Christopher? You were talking about editing, much like The Cup, Game of Thrones. How does this happen? How does it get all the way on the TV when nobody's seeing it?
Because you have a million people creating something. Well, not a million people, but you have lots of people creating something, and things are going to slip through the cracks. I mean, some of the most famous films in history have continuity errors. I think there was an initial scene in Lord of the Rings where one of the fruits he picks up had a sticker on it. I mean, it's or there's like you see like a period piece, and there's like a plane in the background or a car driving in the background. So it's one of those things. I mean, even Evil Dead 2, there's a part where you can see the seams, in the deadite that's spinning around. You see the seams in the side with sweat coming out of it. So,
it's gnarly.
So yeah, it happens, or like you see like cigarettes get bigger or smaller, drinks get small. I mean, it's easy to miss, and sometimes you're so focused on the big things that sometimes you miss it, or sometimes that's the only really good shot you have of something, and you just have to go with it. Although evidently it made it through several different passes, and ILM probably could have easily erased it, or maybe they didn't have the extra money to erase it.
Did you guys notice it? Did you all notice it?
Not until I
didn't really notice it, but I think we also live in a culture now where people, especially this, are meticulously going through and seeing if there's like Easter eggs or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like what was it? There was one of the Disney film where what is it, The Rescuers Down Under, I think, or one of the Rescuers films that one of the people who animated it stuck like a topless woman in one of the windows. And it only happens like a fraction of a second, but because when VHS and DVD came out, people could freeze frame it and find that specific scene. So that's the thing now. Now you can you can pause things and find those little bit of errors or issues or certain things, and
yes, and
it just happens.
We won't even talk about 3 Men and a Baby. That creeps me out. All right. the little figure in the window.
Yeah, well, people thought it was a ghost, but it was just a standee of Ted Danson.
It's still damn creepy.
It is. I thought it was a ghost as a kid. That's why that did so well on rentals, because everybody kept renting it trying to see the ghost.
Yep. All right, let's get back to the show. We're going to hold off the lab scene, the clone lab scene, until the end, because there's a lot to talk about there. So let's talk about let's just talk about the whole, I don't know, storming the siege, right? So they discover. Go ahead. Yes.
Can we? Speaking of that, can we talk about the callback to the original Death Star?
Yes.
With the controls to the thing, like, located on the other side of a tube that has a walkway that's like this narrow that you have to like hug the cylinder to get across. That just shows the lack of engineering the Empire had.
Well, and I think that's also the cool thing about this show. They sometimes will make references or make jokes about things that it's almost like a very meta. It's almost like a reference to Family Guy, because Family Guy made a reference to that. Mm-hmm. And so when the guy's like, why can't these things have railings?
Yeah, well, and it's like that chase. They start out with 8 stormtroopers leaving the gate, and only 4 make it to chasing the.
Well, that was funny because those things really aren't made to go down the side of like lava rock like that. Although I think one of the funniest TikToks I've seen recently, where the guy was watching that scene, he's like, do the foot thingy. Do the foot thingy, do the foot thingy. And there's always that close up when they're doing like the speeder bikes where the foot goes like that, steps on the gas.
Yes.
I laughed so hard because it was like, we just now expect that when you see people riding speeder bikes. But yeah, I think that's the cool thing. It's not like one of those things where it's so easy to drive down things like that. And that's funny where you had like, was it 5 or 6 of those and only
8.
8.
and only 4 survived.
Which
And
is
then 2
funny.
got taken out
They're
immediately. after
so
that.
expendable.
Yeah, I love
Yep.
it.
Yes. And they're terrible shots. Oh my God.
Always.
The only person they hit was Mando. Of course, he's got the armor. So.
That I will say, what is the use of stormtrooper armor? Really, it's like
It's cheap.
it doesn't really. Yeah, it doesn't protect anything.
If I remember correctly, the in-universe explanation is that they just wanted the cheapest material on there because they thought that the chances of people actually shooting at them were so low because they were such an intimidating presence whenever they were on planets and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which probably worked.
Which
for,
is why
for a lot of people, but not for.
Which is why the more advanced troopers, like the dark troopers or the
Death troopers.
death troopers from Rogue One, those they had like better armor than your standard, infantry.
The more fashion than function.
Yes. Yeah, there might be something to talk about that here shortly. There's a lot of callbacks, Slatman. The design of the windows in one scene is exactly the same as the design that they've used everywhere else with the inverted triangles back and forth. So, it just that aesthetic that they keep throughout these films just is like a visual dialogue for fans, right? You just know what's going on.
The Empire hired one architect.
And even
well, it's also interesting how we go into some of the same areas from the first season, and they've changed. Like where the armor lives, the insignia has been. There's even a shadow or where that insignia has been taken off of it. You know.
So what happened to that, right?
Yeah, and other things got turned into a school. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting things how they took things and made it a little bit different.
Yeah, they basically
is making a great Marshall. I think.
Yes. Yeah. Now, okay, let's talk about Cara Dune because I want to ask you, Vanessa, did they utilize her well enough in this episode, or because she's used really well at the beginning, but the more this episode goes, the more she's standing around the background looking around.
What? She's the one that drives the freaking.
Well, that's true. That's true. She is driving.
Noticed that actually. I
was noticing that when they were storming the headquarters. That basically she was just like.
I had
a couple times, but like I think mostly, and the story was kind of revolved around her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and especially the ending, right, where she's posed with this question and she's really considering what she's going to do.
Fair enough. No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think she was portrayed well, and I was glad to see her again, and I was glad to see her get to kick some ass there, and then show her sweet side at the same time. Yeah,
I had a coworker today told me he felt like this episode could point to a possible spinoff with her. So I think I think people look at this. You could look at it from different perspectives. They could easily do a spinoff series just on her character, maybe her going into the New Republic and doing stuff with that.
Hey,
and it focuses on how the job that she's done with the town, and the relationship she has with the people. I felt like that was a trick question.
It might have been. Not intentionally. Oh man. Okay, so we got to talk about Baby Yoda. One of the cuter moments early on. There's a lot of cute moments. Is when they first land, and of course the little ship thing doesn't go down all the way, but Carl Weathers grabs the baby, right, and just like cuddles him and takes him away. It's like the cutest thing.
It's like Grandpa.
It also kind of makes sense because the Baby Yoda saved him, so of course he'd love.
That's true.
Yeah, he loves him. Even Cara Dune, you can't help but love him if you have any sort of heart, I think. But here, can we get into? I'm going to totally flip it real quick because if not, I will forget. I heard a theory that said, did they end up getting Baby Yoda in order to make Palpatine?
Well, so
Did they after what we kind of find out?
well, something it proves that the M count. That would anybody else groan? M count, because the little guy shows up, right? The scientist that we saw in season 1 shows up in one of the little holograph things, and he talks about they only had so much blood from the baby because they could only take so much without killing him, and that they were just having a hard time getting the clones to accept the blood, right? So I don't know. I think you're onto something, Vanessa. I think that's exactly where this is heading.
What? You were not supposed to validate that. I don't want that to happen.
Well, I don't know if it. I mean, the concept, not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, it could come from anybody.
That's a crazy. I know. I jumped ahead, but had I not said, I would have forgotten.
There are other Jedi potentially out there that could fall into this trap.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few at this point, actually.
Well, yeah,
quite
but
a few.
But are they going to be powerful enough to possibly use the blood to, rejuvenated clone for Palpatine? That's the big question.
Skywalker.
Or is it Snoke? Or is it both? Or
no, Snoke was created by Palpatine.
Right.
So no, this is before. I mean, this definitely ties into which we're planning to talk about later.
Might as well do this now, right?
Yeah, let's. But this goes into the Palpatine stuff. I mean,
yes.
And I've heard some spoiler things online, so it'll be interesting to see if it plays out. But supposedly we will finally get to possibly know the name of Baby Yoda and where he came from and that kind of stuff. But yeah. So I mean, there was like one YouTube thing that said that they could easily see them killing Baby Yoda for his blood. I'm like, you know how many people would revolt if you killed Baby Yoda?
Right.
That is not gonna. Disney is not going to allow them to do that.
He just started going to school. You can't take
He does have a little bit of the dark side in him, right? When it comes to macaroons.
It's more like the green side and all those macaroons.
Well, Yoda was very naughty. He
was. He did the hand thing.
That kid, all he had to do was give him one, but he didn't.
All right. Yeah. I gotta say that when Baby Yoda put his hands up, that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. That was so terrific. Yeah, you can't. You. Oh man, that would take some big cojones if they did that, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah, I don't. There's just no way they would do that. I mean, I can understand if maybe they were able to. Maybe if he gets older in the series, and they could pull more blood out of him enough to do what they need to do, because he is a pretty powerful being. So, but I don't really see that coming to fruition. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to play out, because that seems to be the big thing, is that how is that going to, because this episode, we finally have that connection. You have the same, the guy from one of the earlier episodes of last season who supposedly worked in the cloning.
Camino and cloning.
Camino, yeah. And he has the little patch and stuff. And so, talked about like they've been trying they didn't have enough blood to make these clones, work. And one of those clones looks a little bit like Snoke. So, but yeah,
so one of the legacy book series goes into Palpatine creating a clone army of force users. Do you think they might be pulling on that more than they're trying to create more clones for Palpatine and Snoke to mind shift into, or whatever it was? I don't remember.
I think if they wanted that, they could just find any kind of Jedi or whatever, as opposed to Baby Yoda being like one of the most powerful, the child being one of the most powerful M count
M count.
people. Oh well, would you rather them say midichlorian?
No, I would not.
That's a good way. You can't piss people off. You just create a new term for it. M count. That it's benign. It's much more benign because there's toxic fanboys out there that have to change their diapers when you say midichlorian. It's like, get over it.
Honestly,
it's like
on that. I thought they said blood count when I was listening.
No, they said M count. Which I think is a better way a more scientific term to use. It's not that they get away with using
else too. It might not be the same thing.
Yeah,
no, they're dealing with like force things. There's not. I'm not allowing you to go there, Vanessa.
Good try.
Your force powers do not work on me.
All right. Well, there are other spoilers we have to get to because we do see Moff Gideon. And before we get into it, speaking of design, his armor, we talked about this last season, is also has the same designer as a certain other Sith Lord.
Darth.
Yes.
If I may.
Yes. I always look at it going, what the hell? What the hell? I there's a guy named Ben that wants to get his hands on that, I'm sure. Let's see. Okay, so we got to get to the reveal of the new troopers we see.
Dark Troopers.
They're Dark Troopers. Tell us more about Dark Troopers.
Dark Troopers originated in the video game series.
Really? Video game. Okay.
Jedi Knight Dark Forces series. They are robotic stormtroopers that'll just kill everything.
Okay.
That's pretty much all you need to know. They're a much better version. They're like if you took stormtroopers and you took the super battle droids and you melded them together, and stormtroopers could actually aim.
that's a dangerous concept.
Yeah,
but the more important thing is that they can sit there and they can withstand a lot of hits as long as you don't hit them like in like the head or like things like that. So
what's that? What's the shaft called on the? Never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Shoot him in the exhaust port.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so does that have anything to do with Admiral Thrawn? Because I feel like we're heading towards Admiral Thrawn.
I not necessarily, but I mean, I could see them pulling Thrawn in, which I would be okay with because he's been quite absent throughout the entirety of the Empire.
Right. He's a big bad. That he was used in the Clone Wars, right?
In Rebels.
But he was originally, thank you. But he was originally, came out of a book series, right?
Mm-hmm. Which the book series took place about 4 to 5 years after Return of the Jedi originally, but those are all considered legacy books now, and the new canon books are all take place before A New Hope. So
yeah, but they're picking and choosing, aren't they? Because we're getting some of the legacy stuff kind of.
Well, they're taking legacy ideas and bringing them back into canon without saying this book is canon. Well, they're saying this thing from this book was now canon.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the thing people have to realize. Just because stuff is no longer canon doesn't mean they can't use it. That's still stuff that they could use. And they've already done a really great job of including stuff from video games and comics and all these other things, characters or elements, and utilizing it. So they can use it. And supposedly there was a casting thing that came out to where supposedly a Thrawn was cast for this. So and I've heard a rumor that we may actually get a mention of him soon.
Vanessa, are you aware of what we're talking about? No.
Thrawn is probably the best general and the best military mind the Empire ever had.
Where do you see him the most? Is it Clone Wars or Rebels?
And then he's got like 6 books dedicated just
he does. He's got
they're all excellent.
Yeah, he does have a fan base. I mean, he's
a
about-
badass.
He's about the closest thing to a Vader that there's out there, right?
And he's like a Smurf with red eyes.
Yeah,
He's
blue.
blue. He's all
blue.
blue, and he's got red eyes
and he has a really slick haircut usually too,
and a white outfit, like a white Imperial type outfit.
Yeah, if they pull him off, he's badass. He's badass.
He's best known for taking the remnants of the Empire and like completely destroying a lot of the Outer Rim, like just with like a fraction of what the Emperor had.
And
he was that good of a military mind.
Right. Wow. Is it weird that a lot of this season is taking place? It kind of goes to Outer Rim and back? Or am I making crap up? I feel like we've mentioned the Outer Rim before.
Well, we're in the Outer Rim right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's and a lot of the stuff that happens in the new films. I mean, that's where the post-Empire people are creating their.
What's that world called? Slapman, do you remember?
What world?
Where Palpatine is hiding away.
Exegol.
Exegol,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean that's where they're hiding out and building their forces, and so I'm assuming that we're also going to sort of get hints of that resurgence, because I mean we don't know where like Moff Gideon's and where all these troops and stuff are coming from, So
we certainly got an idea that the Empire is still out there and organized.
Well, yeah, and
this one.
Well, and we get a little bit of the hint of that to where people are like feeling a little bit too secure in everything and aren't really worried about it. And I think that's when the new films came out and they like just blasted some of those planets and stuff because people weren't really paying attention, and I think that we get a little bit in that with the guy that returned,
the X-Wing pilot. Yeah,
the X-Wing pilot. He sort of hints at a little bit that they really need to look into that because there's a lot of questions, and even when the protocol droid, the female protocol droid, is talking about the traveling places and stuff, and so I mean there you could see little elements of it where they're hinting at some of the stuff, and I think that's what I love about this. The same way that Clone Wars did a really great job of like including stuff from the prequels and making it more acceptable. I think this is tying everything together from the prequels to the new films, to Clone Wars,
the Rebels.
Comics, making it all sort of like fit, piecewise, and to where it's not just shoehorned for some reason for fanboys to enjoy.
This is what happens when you have a writing staff write out a plan for something over that's longer than one 2 hour long experience and say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to get to it. And we will write and this is the story we want to tell from beginning to end, period. Yeah. This is great world building. This is excellent writing. And it's awesome. And we're talking all about this from I think probably a total of 3 minutes out of this entire 30 to 40 minute episode. So
yes.
Yeah. Adam Savage said, this is an episodic epic.
Yes. Isn't that great?
It's a perfect kind of description for how this feels. It's very focused in each episode, but also still expanding a broader universe.
What if this was edited into being what the sequel trilogy should have been?
Oh man,
I don't think it would work.
But I don't know if I like it episodic instead.
I think it works well the way it is. I think trying to edit it together would take away the.
That was mostly a joke, but.
I know. It's because.
It would be really funny if Luke and Leia and stuff were recast with younger actors and actresses and brought in for season 3 or 4 to fight against Thrawn, if that's really where they're going with this.
I wouldn't. I mean, it would be kind of hard to get used to, but there are people out there that could fit the bill. I mean, there's a Winter Soldier out there that they've talked about, right? Vanessa, before we got to wrap things up, but I want to get your opinion on that, the actual reveal at the end with, just to circle back around real quick with, was it Moff Gideon?
Mm-hmm.
What did you get out of that as you're a fan of Star Wars, but not necessarily as deep as me or Slatman or even Christopher G. Moore. What did you get? What did that? What kind of emotion did it bring? What kind of what?
Terror, actually.
Nice.
Because that's, I mean, this is a story of Star Wars, immovable forces, that you can eventually break through. You find a way to break through, but it just seems like an impossible force to go up against, especially by a ragtag team, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing that it made me feel was terror for the situation. And then secondly to that was admiration for Giancarlo Esposito and how wonderful he is as Moff Gideon, and just his presence as that character says so much. Just his look, the way he talks, the way he delivers that character says so much in such an important kind of way, a very unique kind of way that only something that you see in Star Wars that you don't really see in other movies,
It's the reason why Grand Moff Tarkin is remembered so well too. I
think.
Right,
exactly. He's not your typical bad guy general, right? He or military guy or whatever. It's something different, which is almost a bit more subversive to it, right? How could someone so controlled be that insane?
But yet so charismatic at the same time.
Exactly.
Oh, true.
Exactly. So just so much in that, but overall feeling was kind of, I feel a lot of terror going into the next episodes as to what's going to happen and what's going to happen to baby Yoda.
And we're halfway through.
Oh,
that's the worst thing to say. We're halfway through. All right, so let's wrap things up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score and favorite scene. But before we do, if you're listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please hit the subscribe button down below. It would help us out. It would help others find us, and that also helps us out. Hit the like button. There's a bell down there. If you smash that thing, it'll tell you when we put out more of this. That's cool stuff too, right? And let us know in the comments what you think. Okay, Admiral Thrawn, let's just throw that out there. When do you think we will see him? Will we see him this season, or is it going to be next season? Will he even be mentioned? Is Christopher G. Moore right? Have they already cast him? Do you know? All right. Hush. All right. Final thoughts. Our final thoughts, score, and favorite scene. Slatman, you're up first. So give it to us. What's the dealio, sir?
This episode is awesome. I think I do agree with Christopher G. Moore that there are some editing issues with this episode that make it not perfect, like a lot of the episodes that we've seen so far, especially this season. But at the same time, the story that it's told, the action that happens, the world building that it's doing, especially with the story that they're telling, like the hints that they dropped in this episode alone, make it so important to what's going to happen. I just feel it in my gut that there's going to be a lot that we go back to and say, no, episode 4 was probably the most important episode of the season in terms of of story. So it's excellent. It's still, even with the like editing issues and bringing it down a peg, it's still better than, I would argue, 98 to 99% of TV out there anyway. So
absolutely.
Yeah, if you've made it this far and you haven't watched this episode yet, please go do it. It's awesome to watch. We didn't even mention the blue guy from the very first episode coming back.
Oh, and he was funny too.
And he's a wimp.
Yes.
I'm dehydrating.
You know what I loved was when he sees Mando come back in, he goes poof.
Yeah.
he does like a little neck fart. I don't know, like crazy.
Yeah. That was Horatio Sands. Did y'all know that?
I did, but I don't know who he is.
He's from SNL.
From SNL.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah, that's Horatio Sands under there.
Yes. All right. Did you give us a favorite scene and a score?
Not yet. My score is probably a 4.25 out of 5.
Okay.
And my favorite scene is probably the chase scene, specifically with the speeder bikes. I thought that part of the chase scene was so well executed.
It was. All right, Vanessa, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
Well, I have to be honest and say I didn't notice any of the editing issues or the jeans guy or any of that stuff. Also, I'm not looking at it through a filmmaker's kind of lens at the same time. But to me, this episode was so much fun. It checked so many boxes for so many different things that have culminated throughout this series. The cuteness of Baby Yoda and the kind of ever closer creeping reach of the Empire, and it's so well told. It's like Adam Savage said, it's an episodic epic that we're being told, and it's just a beautiful story to watch. And we didn't really even talk about the chase scene. We didn't really get into this huge part of it that was so cool. So I'll keep it short and say I'm going to give it a 5, because to me it's
nice.
Such a great episode as far as action goes, and the revelations that we get with Moff Gideon and what's going to happen next and all these things. And there's so many scenes I could pick that could be my favorite scenes. I mean, all of the cute Baby Yoda scenes, of course, could be my favorite. But I'm going to pick the moment that Mando comes out in his ship, at the end of the chase scene where he's wrapping it up and he's going after the TIE fighters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was an amazing fight scene. That whole sequence and just watching him just kick butt that whole time was so much fun, combined with all this cuteness happening at the same time. It just, you can't help it. I need to get some blue macaroons, honestly. I tried to maybe find a little spit up for him, but I didn't want to mess him up. So yeah, that is definitely my favorite scene because it was so much fun. But overall, whoa.
Taking a nap. He's taking a nap.
Macaroon drunk.
He's still dizzy.
Oh, yeah, he's dizzy. Whee. Yeah, it's super fun episode, and they're all 5s for me so far. Flaws at all.
Wow, I like that. All right, Christopher T. Moore, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
Well, again, we have another really awesome episode. It's got lots of different Easter eggs and things from different. I mean, there's even a character that we saw his alien species in Solo, who's the guy that is in contact with Moff Gideon.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah, he's actually an alien character from Solo. So, I mean, it's interesting how they're just connecting different alien species and different things from different, parts of the franchise. And I don't know, it's kind of cool, and I think it's funny because there's one shot that makes me laugh because I see something different. Like when he flies in and that ship is like about to fall apart. And I every time I see it, I see a different part of the ship that's like, I mean, there's pieces on the side, there's pieces that are like bent, there's like pieces that are just barely holding on with their dear life. And it's so freaking hilarious that I mean, those people on that one planet with Trask or whatever do not know how to fix your ship.
What was his name? Calamari?
The calamari species. Yeah. Like, do not let him fix your ship. He just turns it into like a freaking seafood restaurant and not really a real ship.
Like all he had was string and popsicle sticks to put it back together.
It was just netting and fish line. That seems to be the only thing they did to his ship. And luckily he got these people to fix it, even though one of them ended up putting a tracking device.
Oh yeah, that's the whole reveal.
Yeah.
But even though I have issues with that one little scene in regard to the editing, just with the transitions and stuff, I think the whole chasing is one of I think Chris had mentioned this earlier. It is one of the best chase scenes in all of Star Wars. It's so well done, and how it escalates, how it starts, and how it escalates, and how it plays out. To where you're just like Baby Yoda. You just want to raise your hands and cheer by the end of it.
I did, yeah.
And I think that they really, there's certain things I think you could look at when it comes to the prequels or the new films to where it's like, oh, we've seen that stuff before, or it's just action for the sake of action. And this feels like a well-crafted action scenario that, just shows what they can do with a TV series that elevates it more than some of their cinematic counterparts. So yeah, I really loved a lot of the parts of this. I love the expansion of this universe, and I love how they're sort of tying it into even those people that have issues with Rise of Skywalker and some of the newer films. I do like the way they're still tying it into where there are certain ties to some of the different films and stuff, to where it raises the stakes. That's the reason that all these people are trying to steal the child, because they have these nefarious type things they want to do with the kid that they've already tried before. So it'll be interesting stuff how it plays out. And I think also, the next episode, I'm sure, is going to be interesting for a lot of people.
I hope so.
I think we'll have a specific character show up, and so yeah. If I were to give a rating, I think the chase scene in itself is one of the biggest strengths of this episode. And so even though I have issues with the editing, I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. I still enjoy the episode. I enjoy everything else. I think just that one little hiccup with the editing and stuff where they didn't really think that through. I think usually when you edit between scenes or transition between scenes, you have something different between the two. When it's the same thing, it just looks like bad editing. And I don't know if they just didn't have enough shots, or they didn't really think that through. But I think that's a little bit of a mistake. And then they focused so much on the mistake, they allowed some guy in a t-shirt to show up. So
yes, they did.
but I really hope they actually make him part of canon as an actual character. They need to bring him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have like a guy in a t-shirt, so I can cosplay him. Then I could be the easiest cosplay ever. As for favorite scene, I mean, I'll have to say the whole chase scene.
All right, easy going there.
I don't really anything could really like be on the same level as that. It's just perfection, and just shows you that they're more than just spectacle. They're all about taking these characters, and putting them in this scenario, and having having them start out with speeder bikes, and then you go to TIE fighters, and then you end it on with child throw up, and so it goes everywhere, and they have so much fun with it, to where it's just like it's one of the favorite things I've seen in a while when it comes to the Star Wars film. So yeah. I have to say that I can't really, I really can't think of any other thing that really stands out in the episode other than that, other than just the cuteness.
Oh, Baby Yoda, yes.
Yeah, or him getting electrocuted, maybe.
Well, that was fun. This episode was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. It has a lot of surprises, a lot of hints, backwards and forwards, to things that we've seen, to things that we know are coming, things that we don't know are coming yet. I think have been hinted as well. This has it all, and it's really well put together. We get our favorite characters from last season are back again, and they're a blast. It's great to see them again. I really want to see them more now, even more so. And we get it has a lot of humor woven into it. From Baby Yoda to dialogue to the blue guy, whatever his name is. I just love that. When he goes when he sees Mando for the first time, but the whole thing is just it's really well done. Yeah, it's got some flaws, but it really makes up for it in just pure energy and enthusiasm and kinetic. I mean, it's real kinetic. It's just like and that's how officially it is. It's it. So I'm going to give it a 4.75 as well. I really enjoyed it. We did it. There's so much stuff we didn't even talk about, right? We didn't talk about the little ferret-looking creature that
lava ferret or whatever.
The lava ferret, which doesn't get to breathe fire, but does in the picture that they show at the end. But there's and we did the C-3PO character. That's not C-3PO, but it's one of the same protocol droids that's teaching, and all the stuff that's on the map. Reference to the Kessel Run.
Well, the trade routes.
Trade routes, right? Which of course is, back to the prequels again. So there's all kinds of stuff throughout this that is just wonderful. I mean, even though everything's, they're kind of making everything better, you still see the Jawas running through trying to sneak their stuff, right? So I mean, it's just really wonderful. I don't know what we always say this is kind of like this movie and that movie, where it draws its inspiration from, and I'm not really sure I figured out which one this one is yet. Maybe Christopher G. Moore can share that.
Well, the funny thing is there's it almost like it takes its cues from action films.
Yeah, more so than
because there's even a part where when they go to the place and they're trying to infiltrate it, he's like, keep the speeder running. It's just like any of those sort of getaway type car type movies and stuff. So yeah, maybe it's Baby Driver.
Yoda Baby
Yoda Driver.
So my favorite scene, I can't not pick the same scene, but specifically, that was the best thing ever. Oh, it was just and he's still holding like the macaroons. And it's just so funny. And then it ends with him spitting up like a little baby, which is gross and cute all at the same time. It's all blue. It really makes me excited for the next episode. And if the womb is a twoo, it's going to be a spectacular Thanksgiving weekend for Star Wars fans. Dave Filoni is the director, so if that doesn't tell you anything,
I wonder who's going to be in this episode.
But I just think there's really some cool stuff. They're just going in a direction that I think is more and more intriguing every little bit we find out. So exciting stuff. Wow.
Well,
talked a lot about the show.
Well, and I do want to point out, like, a lot of people, I think I mentioned this before, but a lot of people think that, like, we know that this character is going to show up, or that people think that they knew everything was going to happen. And a lot of us don't know. Every episode, there's like a new reveal or new type of thing. They're like, I didn't see that coming. So that's what I love about it. They're still keeping these secrets, to where it's like every episode, like, oh man, because the whole Rise of Skywalker type stuff with the cloning stuff. That was a pretty big reveal.
Knew, right?
I'm sure we'll learn something different in the next episode, because especially if a certain character shows up.
You're hinting that hard. You just want to say the name, don't you?
I don't.
If you do, I'll say it. Bless you.
That's okay.
Bless you. All right. With that, Vanessa, Slapman, Christopher, thank you for joining me. This was a wonderful discussion.
Oh, I love this episode. I love this show so much. It makes and this horrible pandemic we're going through. I had one of my coworkers talked about, this is the only thing I look forward to is every Friday with a new episode of Mandalorian. That's what I look forward to, because there's not a lot to look forward to in 2020, but this is one of the big things. So thank you, Star Wars. Thank you, Disney Plus. The force is definitely with you, and you're making all of us very happy.
Thank you, Yoda.